Welcome to the Expertise Unlocked podcast, a part of IR Global, the largest international professional services network. I'm your host, Jennifer Riggins. Today, we have an informative discussion lined up about the Abu Dhabi Global Market, more commonly referred to as the ADGM. This is the financial free zone in Abu Dhabi that has recently expanded to become the largest free zone in the world. Today, we're sitting down with three experts on the complexity of this region. Paoletti, managing partner of the Paoletti Law Group, Francesca Romana Valeri, head of legal for the Middle East at the Paoletti Law Group, and Katherine Evans, a partner at Mirkwood Evans Vincent Law Group. In this episode, we'll explore the evolving landscape of the ADGM, delving into critical topics like registration requirements for businesses, compliance obligations, the significance of ADGM's common law courts, and its role in resolving international disputes through its arbitration terms. We'll also clarify some of the more complex terms, a lot, but that's good. We all want to learn on this podcast. Discuss why companies might choose ADGM over mainland UAE, and address the recent mandatory relocation and re-registration requirements for entities previously based on Al Reem Island. So we've got a lot of information overall, but a lot of very current information. So definitely listen. So Thomas, Francesca, and then Katherine, can you start off by introducing yourselves? Tell us where you're based and share a little bit about your relevant experience and qualifications. Thomas?
Thank you, Jennifer. Lovely to be here today. I'm Thomas Paoletti. I'm the managing partner of Paoletti Law Group. We have offices in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and Italy and in China. I moved in Dubai in 2008, so I have gained some experience in the region, I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you. I'm Francesca Romana Valeri. I'm an Italian lawyer, and I'm working with Paoletti Law Group since almost 2 years. I'm the head of legal for the Middle East, and I'm here in the UAE since 2017. My main expertise is in the corporate and commercial law and construction law. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. Great to be here today. My name's Katherine Evans. I'm the senior partner of Mirkwood Evans Vincent. We're a law firm specialising in telecommunications and technology law on a worldwide basis. I grew up in the Middle East, and I do a lot of work with clients who are looking to expand into the Middle East and clients from the Middle East looking to come into Europe.
Thomas, who would actually benefit from listening to this conversation?
Well, I believe that there are 4 different types of entities that might be able to benefit from this conversation. First of all, those companies or those entities that have been based in Reem Island so far. And the reason being is that now that with the federal cabinet resolution 41 and 30 that was issued in 2024, as you know, ADGM has expanded its jurisdiction over Reem Island. That means that any companies or any legal entities that has been formed previously in Reem Island were under a different umbrella and now needs to re-register the legal entity in ADGM, with ADGM. Other entities that already registered with ADGM, for example, they need to be definitely in compliance with the local rules and regulations, anti-money laundering, for example, which is very, very strict. Parties that seeking legal representation in ADGM court, so having its own jurisdiction in ADGM, you might seek legal representation before court or arbitration cases in ADGM. So that's the 3rd category. And the 4th one, I have to say, any businesses that are looking for a more international environment where they can seek advice and litigation dispute resolutions, As I said, ADGM is the ideal platform for international investors. So we are seeking to find a reliable and more international friendly, I would say, environment in UAE or in the Middle East in general.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that, Thomas. I think that helps everyone know that, if this is the right podcast for them to listen to, and then hopefully share and like, etc. Francesca, what type of businesses or sectors would benefit from paying attention to this conversation?
Thank you, Jennifer. So, consider that ADGM can be considered now the main hub, the sole hub, financial hub in Abu Dhabi of the financial services. First of all, the main case sector that stand to gain from operating within ADGM is the financial services, which means banks, investment firms, fintech companies. Then also all what is about the real estate can benefit from ADGM. So all the real estate development as a firm managing the large scale property project on Arim Island, for example, which now it will be the other part of ADGM. Then construction companies, particularly the company that are involved in the large scale of infrastructure project, and then also all those general commercial enterprises and any business which is seeking the regulatory benefit of ADGM, such as access to X arbitration, the core system, as well as the location. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it really helps always to know what industries would be, most excited there. And then I just want to throw it out there. If there's a bunch of terms and geography that maybe some businesses that are looking to venture into this part of the world, but haven't yet, are a bit unfamiliar with. So can we start with breaking down the basic UAE geography and how these different boundaries, legal and otherwise, work?
We have to say that, first of all, the company law in UAE, it's a federal law. And secondly, for the benefit of the audience, I think it's important to remind that this is a federal country which comprises 7 different emirates. So the company law is a federal law which governs all the 7 emirates. But then there are a lot of rules and regulations which each Emirates has issued so far in appliance of the federal law. So when it comes to company law, I have to say that there is a federal law which says that no one is eligible to do any business in UAE unless it's duly licensed. So when it comes to licensing, it's a matter that each emirate has their own rules and regulations, as I was saying, to issue the condition and how to access to this licensing process and in order to obtain the proper license from the economy. So one of the main considerations that we have to consider in this case is that we have mainland companies that are the general companies incorporated in UAE, but we also have the so-called free zone. So these are geographical areas which has been identified within the UAE territory to support the business. And in the past was mainly due for allowing investors coming from abroad to have full ownership of the company without the need to have a local sponsor, which was actually a requirement for a company incorporated in mainland. So once done this main distinction, I have to say that one of the main benefits of ADGM is that ADGM is not only a free zone, but it has also its own jurisdiction according to English law system. So which is totally different from the mainland jurisdiction or legal framework, I would say, because of course having an English path or an English framework allows investors to feel much more comfortable to do business in an Arabic country like UAE.
Okay. And then, so we have the ADGM, and then we also have, and correct me if I'm wrong, with the Dubai freezone, the
Dubai International Financial Center,
Mhm.
which is another free zone incorporated in Dubai with its own jurisdiction. And in that case, the system is similar to English law, but it's a common law system. So they have created their own system, their own legal framework, which is very similar to English law system, while ADGM has decided to adopt a full English law system.
Okay, very interesting. Is there anything else we should know about? Does Al Maria Island or Al Reem Island fit into this in some way?
Well, ADGM was set up originally in Al Maria Island, which is one of the islands where Abu Dhabi as a city is built. And as we said, they decided to expand their own jurisdiction, acquiring Al Reem Island, becoming in this way one of the largest big financial center in the world. So that's the thing that becomes very, very attractive for us as an operator in the legal field to provide legal support to existing or clients who are willing to do business in the region. Yes, that's what I think.
Okay, now I think we've got the terms down a bit. I think it helps ground the podcast a bit. So yeah, then Thomas, can you explain what the businesses transitioning to the ADGM from Al Reem Island need to consider in terms of?
Yeah, well, it's they gave almost 1 year transition period to companies that were incorporated in Al Reem Island because those companies were registered and licensed by the Abu Dhabi Economic Development Authority. Those entities were entities incorporated in mainland. So that's the reason why I made the distinction at the beginning of this conversation. And now they have time, they got the time until the end of the year in order to re-register the company with the ADGM authority. So we can definitely support these companies during this transition period, and also to let them understand what is the legal framework of ADGM, what are the consequences of doing business in ADGM, what are the compliance requirements for them, not only from accounting and bookkeeping perspective, for example, tax perspective, but also from the legal framework. I had a case of mine, for example. It was a real estate dispute that it was incorporated and started before the Abu Dhabi court. And then all of a sudden, the judge before the Abu Dhabi court had to say, I'm sorry, I don't have any more jurisdiction on this matter because the matter needs to be resolved by a different tribunal. So the client came over to us to instruct us in order to restart the case before the ADGM court.
Okay. So for those listening, we're recording this on December 9th. So they've got a couple weeks left.
Yeah.
Is that a problem? There will be,
well,
I'm assuming, I know they must comply, but they're not going to make that deadline.
Well, if they fail to comply, they will have to face the consequences, which means that there might be some administrative fines that they have to incur, or they have to re-register or move the office out of ADGM, out of Reem Island, because of course the jurisdiction is not anymore under Reem Island. So if you have an LLC company in Reem Island, you might consider to relocate your office outside Reem Island. But if you want to stay within the Reem Island, then you need definitely to register with ADGM.
And so by the time this publishes, it may be a couple days later, so people may have like 2 weeks left in the year. Is that something feasible to do in that time frame?
Well, no, to be honest, no, it's not that easy. Even if everything is digital, so there's a portal to access with ADGM. You submit your application, you pay all your fees in dollars, by the way. But yeah, it will go for compliance. So it definitely will require some time. It's not a straightforward process. So yeah.
But it's one of those things, if people started it now, that would look better, or get it moving, even if it's past, they need to comply to that deadline, but so long as.
Well, in my
it's
opinion,
okay,
in my opinion, I believe that it's important to start the process as soon
Yeah.
as possible. And then if the compliance require more time or additional documents, at least you started, you try to do your best in order to do it before the deadline, right? So yeah, maybe they will be able to waive any fines if they will leave any fines afterwards.
Okay, I suspected, like, it's better to start than not, and it's better to apologize and make the effort.
It's also good sense.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Thomas, for that. Yeah,
Most
there's a
welcome.
lot of information. So, Francesca, I understand that the ADGM has just expanded. Can you explain more implications of that? What does this change? What else does this change?
Yes, of course. As mentioned already by Thomas, so first of all, the first implication, it is the compliance. So not only the deadline, so for those companies that now, the LLC that, for example, are in Island under the regulation of mainland, to be compliant now with the ADGM compliant, but also for all the compliance that which is particularly from a DGM. So, for example, anti-money laundering regulation, some other financial compliance which ADGM is requesting, because we don't have to hide that in consideration of the fact that the DGM wants to become, let's say, one of the most important financial hub in, let's say, also in the world, considering that ADGM now with the expansion in Rim Island will become the largest in terms of dimension freezone in the world. So at the same time, the attitude is that also to have a compliance which is high standard compliance. So that's for my side is the main implication. Then secondly, of course, is the implication in terms of relocation. So relocation of the offices, for example. But then overall, more than implication, what is my opinion, and I believe our opinion as a legal consultant, which are registered in ADGM and which we are living professionally in ADGM, is that most of the things will be the benefit for the firms and the companies to be there, because being a financial hub, there are a lot of companies of, let's say, high standard, of high net worth companies where really the company can find connection. So yeah, I want to highlight that implication, but also a lot of benefits.
Okay, and then, so I want to make sure I'm understanding as well as the listeners are understanding. So the laws are the same across, but then ADGM has a different court and arbitration system from the rest of Abu Dhabi, but for the same laws, besides like maybe some local licensing and stuff. So Francesca, can you explain us a little bit more about that as well, please? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Already, as mentioned by Thomas, that already gave it to us, let's say, a wide understanding. Yes, ADGM is one of those freezone which has his own legal and court system. What does it mean, this one? That usually the other freezone in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi, in this case, are all of them, they are under the onshore law, the federal law. Okay, so for ADGM and the other freezone that we already mentioned is the Dubai International Financial Center in Dubai. They have their own court system. So in this case, ADGM has their own courts with the common law so that means that all the court system is in English language. And the main difference is that in the mainland, so under the federal law, everything is in Arabic with Arabic judges. And regarding the arbitration, the arbitration is following, of course, the international standard, and plus different from the other authorities of the arbitration, which is the Dubai International Arbitration Center, which is, let's say, is following more or less the UAE law. It's also the arbitration in ADGM is more connected with the common law, international standard. And what does it mean, this one? It means that for those that will choose the ADGM arbitration, or that consider that are registered under the ADGM, will be under the ADGM court and the ADGM law, it means that they will not face difficulties in terms of language, and also will have the opportunity to have a legal system and a legal procedure which is under the common law. So this for sure is a benefit, especially for those companies that are, for example, European company or Western company that are more familiar with this kind of law.
Okay. And just because I don't mean to assume, each of you are able to practice law in ADGM or arbitrate, right? Or your practice?
Yes, absolutely. We do have a right of audience before the ADGM court.
Okay.
And this is because I'm still a qualified lawyer in Italy, and I'm still registered with the My Bar Association in Italy. And therefore, it is automatically recognized to practice here in UAE, provided that I have a labor permit to work in UAE, of course.
That's very interesting for each of you. Okay, that's good to know for everyone listening, especially for the IR Global community. Now, Katherine, how does ADGM differ from other free zones, like we already referred to the Dubai International Free Zone? Why would people want to or businesses consider ADGM?
That's an interesting question, Jennifer, thanks. I mean, up until very recently, I was recommending my clients to register under the DIFC, the Dubai International Financial Centre, because it was offering a very high standard of arbitration based on London Court of International Arbitration rules. And of course, if both parties were registered in the DIFC, they could both use the DIFC courts. But quite recently, the Dubai government said that all arbitrations will now go to the Dubai International Arbitration Centre and won't be under DIFC anymore, which means that they're going to be governed by regular Dubai law. And that's, whilst there's nothing wrong with Dubai law, it's strange to foreign companies who prefer to work under English law. So whilst the DIFC courts still operate under English law and English regulation, the arbitration system no longer exists. That begins to make Abu Dhabi, the ADGM free zone, a much more attractive location for clients. It means that because you can always choose your arbitration, they can choose to arbitrate under the ADGM rules, which are subject to English law, English court procedure. So they have certainty. I mean, historically, an awful lot of international contracts have been under English law. The UK was very fortunate in being a shipping nation, and therefore people have grown up that international law is, international contracts and cross-border contracts can be done under English law. Very many people around the world have qualified under a common law jurisdiction, such as the UK, Singapore is similar, Australia, the US countries. English law is familiar to lawyers who've been qualified and trained in any of those jurisdictions. Under the old Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development, businesses were subject to the UAE's civil law framework. That was based on codified laws and resolved through the Abu Dhabi civil courts, and that's mainly based on Sharia law. And whilst there's nothing wrong with the Sharia law system, it's very effective. It can be less predictable for international parties. Now, with the integration into ADGM, everybody can operate under a legal system grounded in English common law, which is just much more familiar to international businesses wanting to do business in the region. And because ADGM is now as Francesca was saying, the largest international free zone in the world. It makes it a perfect location for international businesses wanting to spread out from Asia into Europe and from Europe into Asia, and also doing work across the GCC and the Middle East. So I will be recommending ADGM arbitration to my clients going forward.
Interesting. Okay. And then with businesses transitioning to the ADGM jurisdiction, as you're recommending, and operating under this English common law, how does the shift influence how results are resolved, especially because it seems quite sudden to change from like a different language? Did they need to hire all these new judges and everything being done in a completely different way? It feels like a year and a half or 2 years seems quite a short transition for something like that. And then specifically, what does the ADGM legal system offer these entities? Like you talked about the previous system and under the mainland regulations, how does that work as well, now that you're recommending this?
I think the arbitration, you can always choose an arbitration jurisdiction. You can't choose necessarily what courts will apply, what jurisdiction of which courts will apply to a dispute, because many courts will refuse jurisdiction if both parties are not in that jurisdiction, or at least one party isn't in that jurisdiction. The benefit of arbitration is that you can choose an arbitration system that works for you. And I think increasingly international clients who don't want to arbitrate under the ICC or arbitrate in London because it's very expensive, they can have all of the benefits of that and do that in the Abu Dhabi Global Financial Markets. And they will be attracting international judges from all around the world. I believe just like the DIFC Arbitration Centre used to do, had a very high quality of international judges who were happy to arbitrate under English law. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think the ADGM has really stolen a march internationally, and it will be very attractive to international businesses.
Okay. And my understanding when we were talking previous to today, that DIFC had a change. Is there any risk of ADGM changing? How does it compare to these other financial zones? So it's making this change. Could it change again?
I'm thinking possibly not. I hope not. If it does, then we'll be changing a lot of contracts again. But I think the fact that ADGM Abu Dhabi has been the centre for financial markets rather than just regular businesses. And I think that financial businesses particularly have a real interest in making sure that there are regulations which deal with the intricacies of fintech, banking and the financial services businesses. And I think that's why the Abu Dhabi government has gone for English law in the ADGM zone. And I think it's unlikely that they'll change, but
Okay.
We'll see.
That's great. Are there any other differences of ADGM versus any other financial free zones in the UAE that we should be highlighting right now?
I think for me, the main differences have been between DIFC and ADGM, because many of my clients have established themselves in DIFC. And when two clients are still, or two companies are still established in DIFC, they can still take advantage of the court system. But with the arbitration system having disappeared and gone back to the regular Dubai International Arbitration Centre, I think that people will start picking ADGM as their chosen arbitration centre.
And there's no deadline for that versus the other move.
No, that's choosing your arbitration centre is something that you can do when you sign your contract, and you can sign an amendment to a contract at any time saying that instead of one arbitration system, you're going to go with another. And that's just a contractual agreement between parties. That is the flexibility and the advantage of arbitration generally. And also that arbitration awards can be enforced in most countries under something called the New York Convention, to which most of the major jurisdictions in the world are parties, including all of the GCC countries.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Katherine. Now, Thomas, let's highlight some of the benefits of doing business in the ADGM zone.
Well, We have said a lot, to be honest, and one of the main reasons is that having an English legal framework allow you to regulate and, for example, partnership agreement among shareholders under an international framework rather than under UAE law. So typically what happens is that you may have a SPV, a special purpose vehicle that is incorporated in ADGM, and a partnership agreement or shareholder agreement is signed before that jurisdiction, so that you're sure that any dispute resolution has to be taken place in that jurisdiction. And then the SPV is holding shares of mainland company in UAE or in any other jurisdiction in the Middle East. So maybe you have a company incorporated in Bahrain rather than in Saudi Arabia. We recently received a request for a client of ours that has been working in the region for the last 25 years. And during these 25 years, they incorporated different legal entities in different jurisdictions. They had two entities in Dubai, one in Sharjah, for example, another one in Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. And all of this, and they were all registered under the personal individual name. And then ultimately we suggested them to restructure the entire business and to put under the umbrella of legal entities in ADGM, where they can plan, for example, the succession for the inheritance, guarantee that the heirs can take over the responsibility of the company. You can have foundation, the so-called foundation incorporated in ADGM, which is a kind of mix between a trust and a legal entity. But that serves the purpose of guarantee the succession plan for this type of assets.
Can each of you please briefly answer what would be your key advice for businesses looking to maximize their opportunities within ADGM? Let's go Thomas, then Francesca, then Katherine, please.
Well, ADGM, besides the legal framework, I have to say that it has the benefit that it can be connected with the rest of the world very, very easily. If you think that the position, the geographical position of Abu Dhabi Global Market, you can reach from ADGM a market of 4 billion people within just 4-hour flights. You can reach 65% of the global GDP within 8 hours flight. So that's give you a really a big opportunity for businesses who want to run their own business in the region. Think about Abu Dhabi as a hub for doing business in Africa. Africa is nowadays booming. You have many opportunities, but why, if maybe you don't want to be physically present in one of the countries in Africa because it's very far from your own country, but you want to be located in Abu Dhabi, which is a very Western educated country, even to live, very family oriented place to live, high standard education in terms of school and university. So maybe a family would like to relocate in Abu Dhabi and run the business from Abu Dhabi, looking after their interests in Africa region. So yeah, that's what I think, one of the most key things.
Also, what I would like to add is, and to highlight again, is regarding the fact of the legal system. So that to take the opportunity to have a legal system which is English law, common law, and where the clients can have lawyers that can represent before the courts. And this is something which is really special in the UAE. As a legal consultant, well, most of the time we are facing this issue with the clients because in the mainland, so in the Dubai or Abu Dhabi courts, UAE courts, only local lawyers can represent the clients before the judges, and therefore this I believe is a benefit. Having representation of lawyers that can speak the same language, that has no price, let's say like that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Katherine, would you like to add that how they take advantage of this?
Thanks, Jennifer. I think Thomas and Francesca have said a great deal. I think one thing that's always very important to businesses is tax efficiency and full foreign ownership, the ability to own their business and not have to have a local partner. And in ADGM, they get the tax efficiencies of a free zone. They get the rights of full foreign ownership. They get international dispute resolution mechanisms under English law, which they understand. The contracts they create will be typically under English law on structures that are globally appealing and well understood by international business people worldwide. I think it gives businesses from Europe and from Asia the ability to scale in global markets by being somewhere more centrally placed between the two, these two huge markets. So I think it's a great location for business.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
Katherine, for reminding me about the tax planning. Actually, we tend to forget sometimes, you know, the benefit of living in such a country where there's some tax benefit as well. And thank you for reminding that.
Absolutely. Great info. Now, we are talking from the perspective of IR Global, which is all about networking and law firms and other advisors working together. So let's talk about the relationship between your two law groups. I understand that Paoletti Law has audience rights in ADGM courts and arbitration tribunals. Francesca, can you talk about why you decided to work with Mirkwood, Evans, Vincent in relation to your new offering for these international clients in ADGM?
Yes, of course. Okay, first of all, and I believe that I can talk also on behalf of Thomas that has a longer relationship with Katherine, but okay. So first of all, I believe for Katherine herself, as for her expertise, for her knowledge of the Middle East, and of course of the common law in general. So our firms decided that is happy to have this cooperation because this can be a plus for us for sure, having Katherine and their firms, and also we believe also for Katherine as well to have someone that is physically here in the UAE, which can in a certain way physically help her and help the firms to handle the clients together. So these are, I believe, is the first thing that is coming in my mind of the reason why we decided that. And then, of course, because from an external point of view, this cooperation and the fact that we can put our expertise together is providing to the clients a service that is 360 degrees. So, which means that is a service which is providing the special expertise of the UAE or other jurisdiction. For example, in from our side, Italian jurisdiction, as we are having also offices in Italy, Chinese jurisdiction, and as well as with the help of support of Katherine of the English jurisdiction.
Okay, fantastic. Katherine, kind of the same question. What made you want to partner with Paoletti Group?
Well, I've known Thomas for quite a long time, and we've worked on a number of matters to the benefit of both sets of clients. I know that Thomas and his law firm treat clients with the same level of attention that I apply to my own clients, so I'm very comfortable to refer clients to Thomas. It's obvious I have a lot of clients who do business here in the Middle East, but I have no presence here. And Paoletti Group has an excellent presence here. Francesca's already said that she's head of the Middle East group of Paoletti Law Group, and Thomas has been here for a very long time. So they're the perfect choice for me, commercially and ethically, that I would want to work with.
That's wonderful. That's definitely the point of all this is collaboration with people you trust. So that's great. Thank you so much, Katherine, Francesca, and Thomas. If our listeners want to touch base with you to learn more about you, your legal services, and they certainly probably have more questions to their specific needs, how do they get in touch? Katherine, do you want to go first?
Yes, I'm in the UK time zone. My telephone number is country code 44-203-034-1091. My email address is Not an easy one to write out, but it's Katherine, Katherine, at mirkwoodevansvincent.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Francesca, same question.
Yeah, so my email is fr.valeri at paoletti.com. Unfortunately, I don't remember my mobile number. You have to apologize. I have to apologize on that. But of course, I mean, all the audience can go to our website where you can find all the profiles of our professional, and there you can find mobile number and email address. So happy to assist and to support.
Thank you all so much. And thank you, listeners. These Expertise Unlocked podcast episodes are meant to be educational resources from experienced lawyers like here, accountants and financial advisors, your trusted advisors that have that extensive knowledge on topics you as professionals need to know more about. To learn more about IR Global and its services, please visit irglobal.com. And if you found this useful, please consider sharing it. You know the people that are right to receive this podcast and to continue this conversation with them. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.